So today, I wanted to jump on here and give you some of my top takeaways from CI Midwest, a conference that I just attended this last weekend in Ripon, Wisconsin. Now, I hope you don't feel like this is going to be a bait and switch video, but all of the takeaways I'm going to give you right now aren't going to directly apply to your regular world classroom, world language lesson, but they will apply to you and your teaching. So let's begin. Now, each of these takeaways that I'm going to give you are going to be related directly to another world language teacher that I either spent time with, met, or watched a presentation of. Now, number one, I've got to give a shout out to Meg Vernon. She was my co-pilot, my driving partner from Iowa to Wisconsin. And I've got to say, my biggest takeaway there was companionship. I loved sharing stories, laughing. We had so many conversations and a couple of close calls on the interstate that are best left for an in-person conversation if you want to know more. But I really appreciated having Meg there, and it made the trip go by so much faster, and it was way more enjoyable than me just sitting there listening to another podcast or whatnot. So now, after getting to the conference, one of the very first people that I talked to was Carla Turini. Now, this French teacher is probably the epitome of thoughtfulness. When I got there, pretty much the first thing that she said was, "Oh, I'm so sorry, John. I was going to bring you some banana bread, and I completely forgot, blah, blah, blah." And I just thought, wow, she remembered that I had a fondness for banana bread from the first time we met, which was 11 months ago at ACFL in Chicago. And she just always is exuding an energy where she cares about the people around her and wants to show it. And I love that about her. Now, also at the CPLI booth was Karen Rowan. And if you've ever met Karen, she definitely demonstrates what entrepreneurship looks like. And the way that she has taken this business, taken the direction of that company, and made it into what it is today is just admirable. Now, getting to some of the sessions, on the first day, there were some workshops, and I got the pleasure of attending both Justin Slocum Bailey and Diana Castro's sessions. Now, I chose their sessions not because I didn't want to see any of the other wonderful presenters as well, but I was kind of focusing on looking at texts and reading. And so both of them were presenting on that topic. And that's kind of the reason, or the takeaway, I should say, that I got from both of them was perspective. Although they were both presenting on reading, I received completely different ideas and tweaks to things that I already do, but I got so much information from both of them that I was glad that I almost doubled up on sessions in this way. It was amazing. Now, to break them apart a little bit, also Justin is a great example of resilience. I admire everything he has done to put himself in the position he is now. He is just amazing. If you could see him as a whole person, he's amazing. That's all I can really say. Diana, she kind of embodies connection for me. The first time I sat down with her, I think it was at a dinner in Chicago, I just felt something that she has this way that she connects with people that is just wonderful. And from then on, I knew that anytime I was going to be in the same place as her, a conference, a session or whatever, I wanted to go over and talk with her. She just, I don't know, she makes things click. That's for sure. Another person that I met in a previous conference, but had a little bit of time, or was able to spend a little bit of time with, is Allison Litton. She showed me ways that you can provide service without necessarily being the person in charge. I noticed that as she was running around the conference, she was a presenter and she was an attendee, but she also was helping out behind the scenes with so many different things, and no one asked her to. I'm pretty sure she just did it on her own volition, and that is just amazing to see. After the first day's conference, we went out to dinner and appetizers at a local restaurant. I think it was called Mr. and Mrs. P's. And I got the opportunity to talk with Kelly Eisbrenner. She is a French teacher from Manitoba, Canada. And her passion for justice and her compassion for her fellow human beings was amazing. I loved listening to her talk about the situation of Indigenous people in Canada and just her ideas and perspectives. And it was great to see some things about a subject that I care deeply about, but from a completely different viewpoint, from I would almost say a foreign viewpoint, being from Canada, even though it's not that far from us. It was so neat, so compelling to feel her perspective, to see what she had to say about it, and just soak that in. It was great. It was so great to meet her, and I hope that I get to run into her many, many times in the future. Now, on day 2, I was able to watch 2 other sessions. I was also presenting that day, so I didn't get a chance to see anybody the third time around. But in the first session, I went and watched Andrea Eider present about SEL. Andrea is definitely a great example of courage. I listened to her amazing presentation. She was warm, she was knowledgeable, and by the end, I found out, amazingly enough, that this was her first live presentation. That shocked me because she is so with it during her presentation that there's no way that could have been her first time presenting to a group of people in person. So courage is definitely something that I took away from her, that first time out, she was there doing her thing and no one was the wiser. Between sessions 1 and 2 was the keynote. And if you know anything about Adriana Ramirez, she has this great pursuit of learning that has stemmed from her early childhood up until today. And I feel like she is definitely promotes that. She encourages that in her students. And through her keynote, she promoted and encouraged that with all of the teachers that were in attendance. Her pursuit of also joy and equity in the classroom and beyond is so admirable. In the second session of the day, I got to see Chris Jens present on using music in the classroom. Now, I have to preface this saying that I was probably a little biased and not expecting much from the session because I've used music for a long time, at least more than a dozen years in the classroom. So I was probably thinking, I might pick up 1 or 2 things or a tiny little item here or there, but not expecting very much. And boy, was I wrong. I mean, Chris has this unique take on some of those items and even ideas that I currently do, but I learned so many things in this session, way, way more than I thought I was going to. And that just told me that I need to take a step back. I need to be curious. My takeaway here is curiosity. Curious and not judgmental about something that I really don't have an idea about. And it's not just Chris. Any session on music, I feel like I have a good handle on using music in the classroom, but I should definitely take a step back. I've learned my lesson that I will not do that again in a session. Thank you, Chris. Now, throughout the conference, not just at sessions, but in between and before and after were some of the biggest lessons I learned. One of them was from Rocio Jacobi, and from her, I definitely took away grace. When speaking with Rocio, I had confused her with another teacher, and she was so graceful about the situation. And I know who Rocio is. I've talked to her many times online and in person, in fact, too. But I had confused where she was from, and it was a mistake I should have easily not made. But she was so graceful about it that she pretty much blew by the situation and didn't make any big deal about it. And it's wonderful to see in a colleague. And although I was embarrassed, she made it feel like it wasn't an embarrassing situation. So I really appreciate that in her. A new face for me, or actually I should say a new person to talk to, was Donna Tatum-Johns. I've seen her present. I've been at conferences with her before, but we have never spoken face to face. And boy, was I missing out. Donna has this way of reaching out to people and also making a connection that, boy, I was flabbergasted by how much time, energy, and attention she paid to me. And I know from now on that I've got this person that I can talk to, I can share ideas with, I can discuss whatever, just because of that one conversation we had together. And it was amazing. Sure, her act of reaching out, even at lunch the next day, I was trying to decide if I was going to go out or stay in during the conference because I had to present right after lunch. And she's just like, hey, why don't you come eat with me? I have plenty. And she just is always reaching out in different ways. And it is just so admirable, for sure. A couple that I got to meet and really engage with outside of the regular conference hours were Jennifer and Rinaldo White. Now, this couple, both teachers, are a shining example of courage. Some of the ideas, experiences they've had in their life are flat out insane, I have to say. I will let them tell their own story because it's not my place to tell. But some of the things and events that have gone on in their life are just unimaginable. They should be a movie. They should be a Netflix series. And the way they've come out on the other side, not only stronger, but making the people around them and the environment around them stronger and better for it, is just heartwarming. It is amazing. You must talk with them. You must find out more about them because they are definitely impactful on our world and beyond. Now, I would be remiss if I did not let you know my takeaways from the CI Midwest committee, the group that has put on this conference. And I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. It was Marta Yednak, Hayun Liu, Monica Romero Cortez, Grant Boulanger, and of course Kelly Ferguson. Now, this group embodies service. Just the fact that they're putting on this conference, it's a nonprofit. They do it all out of the goodness of their own heart. They want to share what they know and what everyone else knows within our world language community is so, so great. I love that they're willing to put in all of this time, all of this effort for us. They're not doing it for them. They're all experts in the field. They don't really need this conference to accelerate their teaching, but they do it for all of us. And it is so wonderful. That's all I can say. I do want to give a shout out to a couple of those committee members just because of some personal interactions that I had. One of them is Kelly Ferguson. Now, Kelly doesn't always like the spotlight, but you will always see her present and active in all of the things going on, making sure things are running smoothly, probably doing 1,000 things that we had no idea needed to be done, but she did them. And because of that, you can see her humility that she has. She doesn't need to be in the spotlight. She doesn't need to be, hey, look what I did. She's there, gets the job done, and that's a definite takeaway any of us can have from an event like this. The other person, real quick, I wanted to mention was Marta Yednak. Her sense of giving is exemplary. She was the host of the conference, right? It was at her school, and I believe it was as well as last year. And the amount of effort and planning it probably takes to get your building ready for that number of teachers over a couple of days when she probably taught the very day before is crazy. There is so much to get ready and do that I cannot believe that she stayed sane throughout the conference, that she wasn't either dripping in sweat or falling asleep on her feet. So Marta and the crew, thank you so much. And finally, I've got to give a shout out to a couple people that are related to each other. One of them is Annabelle Williamson. She's been a longtime friend of mine and co-worker, I would say, from a distance. And her sense of joy, like anyone that ever meets her, her sense of joy is contagious. You can't help to want to either be with her or be her. I love this lady. She is an exemplary human and teacher, mother, and I can't wait till the next time I get to see her again. Going along with that mother idea, I had the privilege of meeting Ophelia June, her daughter, for the first time. She's 4 months old, and she just embodies she just embodies wonder is what I wanted to say. Her sense of wonder. And I got to experience this because for about 10 wonderful minutes on Saturday morning, I got to carry around and just show her around the conference area. And between looking outside at the trees blowing in the wind, watching fans overhead, looking at the bright posters on the wall, just that sense of wonder that comes with everything being new is something you just can't forget, right? And I'm so grateful for Annabelle for letting me hold and carry her around even for those 10 minutes because she was in high demand. I was not the only one waiting in line. There should have been a sign-up sheet, I think. And I just appreciate that so much. And because I'm at a stage in my life where I don't have a lot of babies around anymore. My kids are all in high school and older. So until I have grandchildren, I'm not going to have that pleasure anytime soon otherwise. So it was greatly, greatly appreciated. Okay, those were my takeaways from CI Midwest. I'm sure I forgot to acknowledge some other people out there. So any of my connections, friends, colleagues that I didn't mention, I'm so sorry. These are the ones that came to me in the moment. And I hope you don't think that I have forgotten you. So please remember I will reach out to you and make contact with you in future conferences. And I'll be honest, that's what this video is all about. I want everybody out there to think about how valuable, how many lessons I and other people learn during in-person conferences. Now, don't get me wrong, I love and participate in some of the online conferences as well, but there is something different. There is something special about in-person conferences where you can make those connections, get those takeaways, all the things that I mentioned in this video. They're only available at an in-person conference. You're not going to make those kind of connections, at least not to the level, to the depth that you will in an in-person conference. Those conferences are sometimes going to be in danger of not being available in the future, and some have. CI Midwest was canceled this past year in 2023. And I believe the Fluency Matters conference isn't happening this current year. We need to support these in-person conferences. Attendance by presenting, sponsoring, hosting these conferences, because if we don't continue to do that, they're going to disappear. And that will be one of the saddest things for our profession that I can think of. There's no better place to connect, to collaborate, to share the sense of joy we have about using comprehensible input and teaching world languages. And like I always say in my videos, world language teachers teach the world more than language. And nowhere is that more evident at in-person conferences. So please support in-person conferences in your local area on a state basis, national basis, worldwide basis, because we need them. This is what's going to keep our profession and the ideas that we're espousing moving forward. So please support them. I might share a couple links along with this video to help you do that. So please chip in, and you too can have some of the takeaways that I had during this, although brief 2-day conference was full of so many things that I enjoyed and learned from. So please help support. All right. Hasta pronto.